Discussion of cardiology multiple choice questions. Which of the following is a biomarker of myocardial fibrosis? A. Soluble ST2 receptor. B. Troponin I. C. NT-proBNP. D. BNP. Correct answer A. Soluble ST2 receptor. Galectin 3 is another biomarker of myocardial fibrosis. While switching over from ACE inhibitor to ARNI, ARNI can be started dash hours after ACI. A. 12 hours, B. 24 hours, C. 36 hours, D. 48 hours. Correct answer C. 36 hours. Combination of ACE inhibitor and neprilysin inhibitor can lead to higher rates of angioedema, as both can lead to accumulation of bradykinin. Bradykinin is inactivated by angiotensin converting enzyme and neprilysin. Another drug, omapatrolat, which is an inhibitor of neprilysin, aminopeptidase P, and ACE, was tried for hypertension and heart failure. All the three enzymes are involved in inactivation of bradykinin. The development of the drug was discontinued because of higher incidence of angioedema. Lung ventilation perfusion scintigraphy has a negative predictive value of nearly %, for excluding thromboembolic pulmonary hypertension. A 100%, B 80%, C 70%, D 60%. Correct answer A 100%. Because of nearly 100% negative predictive value, a normal lung ventilation perfusion scintigraphy virtually excludes the diagnosis of chronic thromboembolic pulmonary hypertension. VQ scanning has a high sensitivity of 96 to 97.4% for detecting perfusion abnormalities. But VQ scan being not very specific, its diagnostic utility is low. It can only be used as an initial screening test. Any abnormal test requires additional diagnostic imaging like CT pulmonary angiogram, MRI, or invasive pulmonary angiogram for establishing the diagnosis of thromboembolic pulmonary disease. Most common cause of acquired heart disease in children in developed countries. A. Rheumatic heart disease. B. Viral myocarditis. C. Kawasaki disease. D. Lyme disease. Correct answer C. Kawasaki disease. Timely treatment of Kawasaki disease with intravenous immunoglobulin can reduce the incidence of coronary aneurysms from 25% to around 4%. Children with coronary aneurysms due to Kawasaki disease needs lifelong cardiology follow-up. The prognosis depends on the initial and current level of coronary involvement. Some children may develop coronary obstruction and thrombosis leading to myocardial infarction. Revascularization procedures may be needed in some of them. Claudication distance of less than 200 meters will be stage dash in Fontaine classification for peripheral arterial disease. A. Stage 2A, B. Stage 2B, C. Stage 3, D. Stage 4. Correct answer B. Stage 2B. In Fontaine classification, Stage 1 is asymptomatic with incomplete vascular obstruction. Stage 2 is with mild claudication, which is divided into A with claudication distance more than 200 meter and B with claudication distance less than 200 meter. Stage 3 is with rest pain and stage 4 with necrosis or gangrene in the limb. Rutherford classification classified peripheral arterial disease into acute and chronic limb ischemia. Each is further subdivided into grades and categories based on symptoms, clinical findings, Doppler, angle brachial index, and pulse volume recordings. References for classification systems in peripheral arterial disease. Wrong statement about prosthetic valve thrombosis. A. Risk of thrombosis is more at mitral position than tricuspid position. B. Risk is more at mitral position than at aortic position. C. Risk is more for mechanical processes than bioprosthetic valve. D. Subclinical thrombosis in bioprosthetic valves may manifest as leaflet thickening and reduced leaflet movement. Correct answer A. Risk of thrombosis is more at mitral position than tricuspid position. Risk of prosthetic valve thrombosis is more with right-sided valves because of the relatively lower pressure circulation on the right side. Tricuspid valve is the most prone for thrombosis due to the slowest velocity of blood flow across. For the same reason, mitral prosthetic valve is more prone for thrombosis than aortic prosthetic valve. Reduced leaflet motion of bioprosthetic aortic valves demonstrated by 4-dimensional volume rendered computed tomograms has been considered to be due to subclinical leaflet thrombosis. The abnormality resolved after therapeutic anticoagulation. Prosthetic valve thrombosis is of course more likely with subtherapeutic anticoagulation. It is also more with certain specific type of valves and in the early period after implantation. Annual incidences vary from 0.1% to 5.7%. The risk of thrombosis is higher with stented porcine bioprosthetic valve than the stentless bioprosthetic valve. Stentless valves also have better orifice area and lower gradients. Treatment for prosthetic valve thrombosis presenting with stroke. A. Intravenous heparin. B. Thrombolysis. C. Surgery. D. Warfarin. Correct answer C. Surgery. Surgery is the best option for prosthetic valve thrombosis presenting with stroke as thrombolysis is contraindicated. Thrombolysis is the best option for right-sided prosthetic valve thrombosis. For very small left-sided thrombi less than 5 mm, intravenous heparin may be enough. Prosthetic valve thrombolysis carries the risk of thromboembolism including disabling stroke. Identify the jet marked in the continuous wave Doppler taken from the apical 5-chamber view. A. Aortic stenosis. B. Aortic regurgitation. C. Mitral stenosis. D. Mitral regurgitation. Correct answer B. Aortic regurgitation. In the apical 5-chamber view, the transducer is kept at the apex and hence a flow towards the transducer will be aortic regurgitation when the cursor is passing through the left ventricular outflow tract as in this case. See the 2D image in the inset at the top. The aortic stenosis jet is seen below the baseline as it is away from the transducer in this view. Peak velocity of the AS jet is 508 cm per second and the mean velocity 348 cm per second. This will correspond to a peak gradient of 103 millimeters of mercury and mean gradient of 58 millimeters of mercury. The velocity time integral is shown as 110 centimeter. VTI is electronically calculated when we trace out the AS jet manually for getting the peak and mean gradients. The Doppler gradients are suggestive of severe aortic stenosis. Of course, there is associated aortic regurgitation as well. Identify the structure marked in this parasternal long axis view on echocardiogram. A. Densely calcified aortic wall. B. Densely calcified mitral wall. C. Densely calcified pulmonary wall. D. Non-calcified tricuspid valve. Correct answer A. Densely calcified aortic valve. This echo picture in parasternal long axis view shows densely calcified aortic valve in a case of severe calcific aortic stenosis. It is a diastolic frame as can be seen from the widely open mitral valve with anterior mitral leaflet and posterior mitral leaflet far apart. Left ventricle shows concentric hypertrophy as both the interventricular septum and left ventricular posterior wall are thickened. RV right ventricle, RVFW right ventricular free wall, LA left atrium. Lake-Lewis criteria is for the diagnosis of A. Myocardial infarction on echocardiography, B. Endocarditis on blood culture, C. Myocarditis on cardiac magnetic resonance imaging, D. None of the above. Correct answer C. Myocarditis on cardiac magnetic resonance imaging. Lake-Lewis criteria are based on those for detection of myocardial edema, hyperemia, and capillary leakage, necrosis, and fibrosis. Edema is indicated by an area of high intensity signal in T2 weighted images. It can be global in some cases. In the absence of late gadolinium enhancement, which would indicate necrosis or fibrosis, edema is suggestive of potentially reversible myocardial injury. Global myocardial edema may be difficult to identify visually and needs software support which compares myocardial T2 weighted images with that of skeletal muscle. Similarly, hyperemia is also better appreciated by quantitative evaluation in comparison with skeletal muscle. A potential confounding factor is the presence of myositis along with myocarditis, which reduces the value of comparative assessment. Two of the three criteria are required for the diagnosis of myocarditis in the setting of clinically suspected myocarditis. Presence of left ventricular dysfunction and pericardial effusion are only additional supportive evidence for myocarditis, not primary diagnostic criteria. Modified Rankin score of 5 after recovery from a cardiac arrest would indicate A. No symptoms, B. No significant disability, C. Slight disability, D. Severe disability. Correct answer D. Severe disability. The score ranges from 0 with no symptoms to 6 which would mean mortality. In between there is 1 with no significant disability and 2 with slight disability. Moderate disability requiring some help is 3 and 4 is moderately severe disability in which the person is not able to walk or attend to bodily needs without help. References on Modified Rankin score. Which of the following is not an endothelium-derived vasodilator? A. Nitric oxide, B. Endothelium-derived hyperpolarizing factor, C. Prostacyclin, D. Endothelin. Correct answer D. Endothelin. Endothelin is a powerful vasoconstrictor derived from the endothelium. In humans, endothelium-derived vasodilator function is assessed by measuring flow-mediated vasodilation. This is done by measuring the brachial artery diameter and flow using a vascular ultrasound probe. After taking baseline measurement of vessel diameter and Doppler flow, blood pressure cuff is inflated. Increase in diameter due to flow-mediated vasodilatation can be assessed by repeat measurements taken after relief of transient ischemia caused by blood pressure cuff inflation. Sporadic sign is A. ST segment elevation in acute myocarditis, B. PR segment depression in acute pericarditis, C. ST segment elevation in acute myocardial infarction, D. Downsloping TP segment in acute pericarditis. Correct answer D. Downsloping TP segment in acute pericarditis. Sporadic sign is downsloping TP segment seen in stage 1 of acute pericarditis. It is best seen in lead 2 and lateral leads. It has been mentioned that it can be seen in about 80% of cases of acute pericarditis. A good demonstration of sporadic sign is available in the article by Shobby and Associates. They also quoted another article which had shown resolution of sporadic sign in leads 2, V4 to V6 after treatment with non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents. Interestingly, authors of the cited article did not specifically mention about the sign. Sporadic sign is thought to be useful in differentiating acute coronary syndrome from acute pericarditis. In both conditions, PR segment depression may be noted, but presence of sporadic sign will favor acute pericarditis. References on sporadic sign in acute pericarditis. More references on sporadic sign. Medication which is universally recommended to prevent anthracycline cardiotoxicity when high-dose cancer chemotherapy is planned. A. Dexamethasone, B. Dexrazoxane, C. Deflazacort, D. None of the above. Correct answer B. Dexrazoxane. Dexrazoxane has been used intravenously to protect the heart against chemotherapeutic agents like doxorubicin. US FDA has approved its use only in adult patients as there was a possible risk of secondary malignancy in pediatric patients. It is a derivative of EDTA and chelates ion so that less number is available to bind with anthracyclines and form superoxide radicals. Concerns have also been raised about its potential interference with anti-tumor effects of doxorubicin. A recent retrospective cohort study compared the 7-year follow-up of those who had received dexrazoxane and a 7.5-year follow-up of those who had not received it. Those who received the drug were older and were more likely to receive higher dose of anthracycline chemotherapy and adjuvant trastuzumab treatment. Dexrazoxane treatment was associated with a higher rates of leukopenia, neutropenia, anemia, and thrombocytopenia. Interestingly, cardiac events were similar in both groups, and there was a non-significant lower mortality in dexrazoxane group in spite of them being older. Reference on dexrazoxane. Anticoagulation regimen in pregnancy with prosthetic valve associated with lowest rate of fetal or neonatal loss. A. Vitamin K antagonist, B. Direct acting oral anticoagulants, C. Heparin followed by vitamin K antagonist, D. Low molecular weight heparin. Correct answer D. Low molecular weight heparin. Low molecular weight heparin is associated with lowest rate of fetal or neonatal loss in pregnancy with prosthetic valve, but has a higher risk of valve thrombosis. Though the often followed method is initial use of unfractionated heparin followed by warfarin in second trimester followed by unfractionated heparin in peripartum period, this approach has higher maternal thrombotic and bleeding events. Continuous use of vitamin K antagonists without switchover has better maternal outcomes but highest fetal losses. Directly acting oral anticoagulants are not recommended for use in those with mechanical prosthetic valves because their use is associated with valve thrombosis. P3 scallop of posterior mitral leaflet is also known as A. Anterolateral scallop, B. Central scallop, C. Posteromedial scallop, D. None of the above. Correct answer C. Posteromedial scallop. Anterior mitral leaflet has three divisions named A1, A2 and A3. Posterior mitral leaflet has three divisions named P1, P2 and P3. Since P1 scallop of posterior mitral leaflet is near the anterolateral commissure, it is known as the anterolateral scallop. P3 is near the posteromedial commissure and is known as posteromedial scallop. P2 is known as the central scallop. Heart failure with preserved ejection fraction is defined as heart failure with left ventricular ejection fraction more than A. 40%, B. 50%, C. 60%, D. 70%. Correct answer B. 50%. Heart failure with preserved ejection fraction was also known as diastolic heart failure. HFpEF is as common as heart failure with reduced ejection fraction or systolic heart failure. As the population ages, HFpEF is becoming more common. Prognosis of both types are equivalent, but guideline-directed medical therapy options are limited for HFpEF compared to HFrEF. Type 4C myocardial infarction as per the fourth universal definition of myocardial infarction. A. Myocardial infarction related to percutaneous coronary intervention. B. Myocardial infarction due to stent thrombosis. C. Myocardial infarction due to restenosis. D. Myocardial infarction following coronary artery bypass surgery. Correct answer C. Myocardial infarction due to stent thrombosis. As per the fourth universal definition of myocardial infarction, the various types are type 1 MI, type 2 MI, type 3 MI, type 4A MI, type 4B MI, type 4C MI and type 5 MI. ECG changes in pericarditis are due to involvement of A. Visceral pericardium, B. Parietal pericardium, C. Visceral pericardium or epicardium and adjacent myocardium, D. None of the above. Correct answer C. Visceral pericardium and adjacent myocardium. Parietal pericardium is electrically silent. In pericarditis, 4 stages of ECG changes have been described. Stage 1 PR segment depression and ST segment elevation in leads other than AVR and V1 which is oriented to the cavity. Stage 2 ST segment becomes isoelectric. Stage 3 T waves get inverted. Stage 4 ECG normalizes. It may be noted that unlike in the evolution of myocardial infarction, ST segment elevation does not coexist with T wave inversion. Contraindication for placement of an Impella mechanical cardiac support device. A. Aortic stenosis, B. Aortic regurgitation, C. Left ventricular thrombus, D. All of the above. Correct answer D, all of the above. Impella is a percutaneous transvalvular continuous flow microaxial pump which is used as a temporary left ventricular assist device. Now devices for the right ventricle are also available. When both together are used, some call it bipella. Impella 2.5 delivers 2.5 liter per minute cardiac output, while Impella CP delivers 3.5 liter per minute. It draws from the left ventricle and delivers it into the aorta. Hence, it will unload the left ventricle, reducing diastolic volume and area of the pressure volume loop or cardiac work. Impella 2.5 needs a 13F sheath and Impella CP needs 14F sheath in the femoral artery. Impella is sometimes used in conjunction with ECMO to vent the left ventricle, as ECMO has a tendency to increase the left ventricular afterload. Some call the combination as ECPella. When there is significant aortic stenosis, it will be difficult to place the device in the left ventricle. In aortic regurgitation, the output delivered by the device will go back into the left ventricle. Left ventricular thrombus is likely to break away and embolize while the device is being placed in the left ventricle. Though stress cardiomyopathy is a reversible condition, recurrence is known. Average recurrence rate is about A. 2 to 4% per year, B. 6 to 12% per year, C. 14 to 20% per year, D. 20 to 40% per year. Correct answer 2 to 4% per year. Recurrence as early as 4 days and as late as 10 years has been documented in literature. Up to 20% recurrence over 10 years is known. Sometimes the recurrent episode may be a different anatomical variant. It may be noted that different variants are apical ballooning, the classical Takashima pattern, global hypokinesia, mid-ventricular variety, variant with left ventricular outflow tract obstruction and mitral regurgitation, etc. Left ventricular outflow tract obstruction occurs due to basal hypercontractility and may be worsened with inotropes. Mitral regurgitation is due to systolic anterior motion of the mitral valve. Maternal anti-Rho SSA antibodies are associated with fetal A. complete heart block, B. endocardial fibroelastosis, C. AV valve regurgitation, D. all of the above. Correct answer D. all of the above. Fetal echocardiographic features of anti-Rho SSA antibody-mediated cardiac disease includes dilated cardiomyopathy, pericardial effusion, endocardial fibroelastosis, complete heart block, and atrioventricular valve regurgitation. But the one familiar to most people is complete heart block in the infant of mother with systemic lupus erythematosus or other maternal connective tissue disease. Investigation to identify low flow, low gradient severe aortic stenosis. A. Global longitudinal strain, B. Dobutamine echocardiography, C. Cardiac magnetic resonance imaging, D. Tissue Doppler imaging. Correct answer B. Dobutamine echocardiography. Low flow, low gradient severe aortic stenosis is due to falsely low gradient when there is left ventricular dysfunction. Dobutamine increases the contractility in this situation and increases the gradient. Most validated and accurate non-invasive test for the quantitative assessment of coronary vasomotor function. A. Positron emission tomography, B. Cardiac magnetic resonance imaging, C. Doppler echocardiography, D. none of the above. Correct answer A. Positron emission tomography. PET uses rest and vasodilator stress myocardial perfusion study after injection of blood flow tracers like rubidium-82 or N13 ammonia. Image post-processing yields regional and global myocardial blood flow in ml per minute per gram of myocardium. Coronary flow reserve is calculated as the ratio of stress to rest myocardial blood flow. Assessing coronary flow reserve is important in patients with coronary microvascular disease. There are several persons with angina and positive stress tests but having non-obstructive coronaries on angiography. They can still have adverse cardiovascular events despite non-obstructive coronaries. Which of these three lesions is least likely to progress and have a favorable clinical course among aortic stenosis, mitral regurgitation, and aortic regurgitation? A. Aortic regurgitation, B. Aortic stenosis, C. Mitral regurgitation, D. All progresses at an equal rate. Correct answer A. Aortic regurgitation. Asymptomatic severe aortic stenosis and mitral regurgitation has poor long-term outcome with overall mortality near to 10% per year, while that of asymptomatic severe aortic regurgitation is almost similar to that of age-sex matched population. 1998 AHA guidelines mentioned annual sudden death risk of only 0.2%, progression to asymptomatic LV dysfunction of less than 1.3%, and chance of becoming symptomatic of less than 4.3% per year. Pharmacotherapy which has been shown to halt and reverse the progression of transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. A. Trastuzumab, B. Tafamidis, C. Tranexamic acid, D. Tamoxifen. Correct answer B. Tafamidis. Transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy is due to transthyretin amyloid fibril deposition in the myocardium. Tafamidis acts by binding to transthyretin and prevents tetramer dissociation, thus preventing amyloid formation. Which of the following are associated with primary aldosteronism? A. Hypertension, B. Atrial fibrillation, C. Obstructive sleep apnea, D. All of the above. Correct answer D. All of the above. Primary aldosteronism is one of the potentially curable causes of hypertension. Salt and water retention can cause edema of upper airways, leading to obstructive sleep apnea. Hypoxia-induced secretion of endothelin-1 can enhance aldosterone secretion as well. Prospective appraisal of prevalence of primary aldosteronism in hypertensive patients presenting with atrial flutter or fibrillation is one of the studies which has shown a link between atrial fibrillation and primary aldosteronism. Stroke risk in chronic non-valvular atrial fibrillation was increased by dash-fold in Framingham study. A. 2-fold, B. 5-fold, C. 10-fold, D. 17-fold. Correct answer B. 5-fold. In the same study, chronic AF with rheumatic heart disease had 17-fold increase in stroke risk. The study report had a follow-up period of 24 years. Conventionally, non-valvular AF is defined as AF in the absence of moderate or severe mitral stenosis or prosthetic valve. Milder degrees of mitral stenosis and other valvular lesions are not excluded from non-valvular AF.